Good morning, good morning, good morning, fellow humans. Today is Tuesday, November 11th, 2025, Veterans Day, 11/11. And we know what happens at 11 on 11/11. Actually, 11/11/11, I think, has already occurred in the original time zone. Right, but that's okay. Because here we are. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers and sisters. So today is day 2 in week 2, 2-2. So on 11/11, it's also 2-2. Day 2 of week 2 in our neuroscience-oriented approach to success. This is the kind of the big week. Last week was intro and orientation and overview, where we got that what we're trying to do, what we got is what we're trying to do and why we're doing it. So what we're trying to do is know who we are. Why do we do what we do? Who am I? And why do I do what I do from a neuroscience perspective, not a religious, not a cultural, from a neuroscience perspective. What is it that makes me who I am, and why do I do the things I do? With the idea being, if I know the answer to those two questions, I can dial in who I need to be right now. That was last week, setting the foundation. This week, now we get into the neuroscience of the thing. Yesterday we learned about neurons. Today we're going to learn about neurotransmitters. Tomorrow we're going to learn about the reticular activating system, the RAS, and how all three of these work together. And our goal is to be able to choose the outcome we want, work our way back to the behavior we need to get the outcome we want. Next is to feel the way we need to feel to behave the way we want to behave to get the outcome we want to get. And then we got to figure out what is the transmitters that I need to release to make me feel the way I need to feel so I can act the way I need to act so I can get the outcome I want to get. And then we're going to work on the triggers of the reticular activating system, or the triggers to release the neurochemicals to make me feel the way I need to feel, act the way I need to act to get the outcome I need to get. Bingo, bango, bongo. Right. That's how simple it is. Simple, but not, no, I take it back. Easy, but not simple. Or maybe simple and easy. Okay, so that's this week. We're going to learn that. Next week, we're going to learn that how my brain works is how everyone else's brain works. So if I know what makes me who I am and why I behave the way I do, then I know fundamentally what the same thing about other people, all other people. I don't know the beliefs that drive them, that trigger the release of neurotransmitters, but I can kind of infer that and figure that out by observation and memory and knowing things. And then week 4 is, okay, the journey is a foot. One word, the journey is a foot. How do I keep going on the journey the most effectacious? Would that be a word? Effective, the best way possible. Okay, so this week again, we are learning about the brain. The brain. Because that's where this stuff happens, not in your heart, in our brain. However, there are certain neurotransmitters that we'll learn about today and throughout the week that affect our heart, specifically oxytocin. So perhaps the things that we feel in our heart, that's the oxytocin, because it will attach to the heart to help eliminate damage caused by cortisol and stress. Okay, last night I was at the NAN meeting, National Action Network, Al Sharpton's organization. And it just so happens that the chapter of the year, of the 104 chapters, the number one chapter is the one in Lost Wages. That's the number one chapter. And there's a reason why. The organizational skills of Dr. Robert Bush. Very good at getting a lot of people involved in a lot of things, and they're clawing their way forward 6 inches at a time. And you know what happens is a lot of activity occurs. I think I just got a notification. Okay. Not sure what's going on there, but here we are. So I had 3 good meetings. One interesting one, Eddie Q. Hicks, Montfort Point Marine Association. Something to do with railways. Very proud Marine, very proud Black Marine. Montfort Point Marine Association, Eddie Q. Hicks. Nope, that's the Las Vegas chapter. This was Gary T. White, Marine. And once again, Alex Churup, the executive director of Nevada Legal Services, talking about Operation Hitsapetsa. More on that some other time. The theme of today, so let's get back to it. Our theme today is level up. Level up. What? Yep. I'm going to put that in red letter down below. Really good one. Brain hacks. Brain hacks. I tell you. Okay, so the theme of today, level up. Number 1. Number 2, advice from an 80-year-old. Avoid sarcastic remarks. Right. Why? Sarcastic remarks are negative comments disguised as jokes. Yeah. Avoid that. Okay, good. Seth Godin, what does Seth have to say today? A good business versus a useful idea. In the South, they might say a good business versus a useful idea. Ideas open doors, lead to connections, and make things better. But not all good ideas are good businesses. Crop rotation is a good idea. So is sous vide cooking and the sport of juggling. But these aren't good businesses. A business thrives when it can charge a premium, selling something for more than it costs. That means that there has to be a competitive advantage, an asset that produces value. Easy substitutions are a challenge for businesses, but useful ideas are often based on how easy they are to share. Create something of value, and then find a reason why people will eagerly choose your version and happily pay extra for it. Update. After 20 plus years, the original RSS feed for this blog doesn't work any longer. The one to use is okay. I strongly recommend RSS. It's the best way to read blogs. Own your communication. Don't let Google filter them. Okay. Whoops. Not sure what happened there, but it wasn't good. Okay, well, back to business, people. Back to the business. Okay, we're 10 minutes in. All right, let's talk about leveling up, and then we'll talk about neurotransmitters. Darren Hardy, business guru, mentor, all-around good guy, also raised somewhere in the Bay Area. Not quite sure where, but I think it was like in the Hayward area. Sort of around my time. May have been in high school when I was in high school. So we've got that going for us, and has a residence in San Diego on the beach somewhere, I believe. And a lot of what I talk about is what he talks about. So somehow through osmosis, what he says I get. I read, transmit. Maybe slightly different, but for a different audience. So today's talk from Darren Hardy, his short little talk is that we have evolved over the last, he says 300,000 years. I'd say more like 250,000, but does it really matter? We have evolved to be mediocre, to not take risks, to conserve energy, to not stand out. And if you think about it, if we didn't have those restraints on us, we probably wouldn't be alive because we'd take too many risks. And the problem with these type of risks are one mistake and you're dead. It's not like a video game where you get to start over. So it's better to be genetically conservative, cautious, mediocre than to be, though we do need the outliers. We need the people that are beyond the norm, but the norm is lazy, mediocre people. Perump. Slightly below the norm. Okay, so right, thinking about last night and the very warm intro I got from President Robert Bush, and then the people coming up afterwards and saying, golly gee, wow, nice to meet you. As opposed to that son of a bitch, he's the cause of our problem. So Darren Hardy gives some hacks. How do you get away? How do you have an autopilot way around our culture and evolution? How do we have an easy way to get around being mediocre, being risk averse, having no vision? How do we get around that? Well, now let's go to Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett says, it's one of the things he's famous for saying is, the four people break, segue. Good morning, what not a bevy. Glad to see you is here. Right, I had a good time. This could apply to you. This could apply to yins. Okay, so Warren Buffett, one of the says that the four people you hang out with the most have the biggest impact on you. You hang around losers and gutter snipes, they're gonna pull you down. So Darren Hardy's hack fits in with Warren Buffett. Instead of, hang around a higher crowd of people who are more athletic, you're going to become more athletic. You want to get in shape, go work at a gym. You want to become smarter, go to school. Where you're hanging around a different breed of cat. That breed, because we don't want to stand out, right? So the starting point of Darren Hardy's thing is we're mediocre so we don't stand out. Darren Hardy's doing the Larry David flip and saying, okay, if you want to do better, join a higher vibration, join a higher energy, higher mentality crowd. And then in order to not stand out, you're going to have to raise to their norm. Next week, we're going to get with outsider Skull Size Kingdom. David Logan is going to talk about, okay, now you're in this level. If you want to lead, you need to stand out a little bit. You need to nudge them. Hey, homie, let's go. So, easy hack to improve yourself is hang out with people better than you. More athletic, more attractive, more intellectual, more daring, more whatever. And that's kind of like duh. So that's like being a Gospel of Mark apostle or disciple. Duh. The disciples, they just don't get it. What does this parable mean? Whack. Boy, are you guys really this stupid? Yeah. Teach us, Rabbi. Teach us, Rabbi. Rabbi dabby doo. Okay, that's what they say on Zeta. All right, so level up. Level up. You want to have an easy way to improve? Start hanging out with people better than you. Versus what do we normally do? We hang out with people lower than us because we want to be impressive. We like the feeling of, wow, that guy's smart. Man, they got it together. Wait a second. Am I guilty of that? Is that what I spend my time doing? Aha. No wonder. No wonder that SOB will get him. We'll get him. So, how are things in Fort Jack's Watnata Bevy? I'm going to talk a little bit about neurotransmitters, neurohormones, chemicals released in our brain. So we'll learn from today's TED Talk from Simon Sinek, another great guy. We're going to learn from him that all of our emotions are created by chemicals, the release of chemicals in our body. You don't release the chemicals, you don't have the emotions. Where you release some other chemicals, you release a lot of cortisol, you're going to have certain emotions. So one thing we should take from that is not to have feelings of guilt regarding our emotions. Our emotions are caused by the release of neurotransmitters. So we can stitch that all the way back the proximate cause, all the way back to the 7 deadly sins. Gluttony, greed, anger, sloth, envy, lust, wrath. Something like that. We can trace them all the way back to that. Those are emotions. You can say, well, gluttony is a behavior. Well, I would say it's a behavior that, like all behaviors, is created by the release of neurochemicals, by a feeling. Okay, I need to have that. Could be food. I need to have whatever. So the emotion, so you have this deadly sin, right? That's a behavior, but what's driving that ultimately is a feeling. And then there's a trigger. So all of the feelings, what we learned first of all is all of our feelings and emotions are the result of the release of chemicals. So if we control the release of those chemicals, if we control the release of those chemicals, we will control our feelings, period. Boom. You don't need to try to think your way around it. You can act your way around it. Don't do things that release the neurotransmitters. Don't trigger the release. But we're out of time. So maybe more on this tomorrow as we talk about the reticular activating system and whatnot of Bevy. What are you doing now? Are you going to school? Where are you? Send me a text, please. We'll continue in the textage. Shalom.